Hello, everybody, and welcome to iSpot.
Welcome to the era of advertising, folks, the 90s.
Basically, everybody, this was the game that Virgin Games USA, aka David Perry and his team, made before they made the Disney Aladdin game. And here's an awesome Telerico track, of course.
You know, something about this game is leaving some kind of dry taste in my mouth. If only there was something much that.
Okay, everybody. Basically, 7-Up wanted to get in on the whole '90s mascot trend that wasn't there at the time. So they created a new. So basically, they were trying to create a new mascot. That actually, this game, Cool Spot actually did have a game on the NES at first, but it wasn't that successful. It was this one that actually did have a lot more success, probably because it's a much better game.
It's the 90s days, hip, with the movement and with sunglasses.
Yes. So basically, Cool Spot is supposed to be 7-Up's cool 90s mascot. So basically, of course, that's the game. Oh, wait.
God.
Hey, David Perry. Time for some cheatiness. Alright, so obviously, like any David Perry game, it has a cool cheat mode that we can use. So let's use it.
It's like Immortal Kombat.
Alright, so you need to find the Hero wanted, by the way. The spiked balls are bad. If cool, you collect these. Follow the hands, and 7-Up is good. Get it? 7-Up is good. Okay.
Okay, I actually played this game in my childhood. Please, Pedro, tell me you're going to share the audience the ever so luscious lore of this game.
Level 1, Shell Shock, aka the beach level. Okay, let me just first explain how the gameplay works. Okay, so Cool Spot is a run-and-gun platformer. Think of this as a kind of an Earthworm Jim beta of sorts. The idea is that the levels are not really all that linear. You know, instead it's more exploration based, and you're supposed to find cool spots, and you get a certain percentage. If you get 30%, you can complete the level. However, if you finish the level with 70% of cool points, you get a bonus level. So basically, the cooler you are, the more rewards you'll get. Basically, you just shoot, you have infinite ammo and all that stuff, and that's basically it. It's a run and jump platformer. It's a very good licensed game for what it is. It's not like one of David Perry's best made games, but it's still very fun for what it is. Especially the gameplay is pretty good for what it is, and what really sells it, of course, is the brilliant visuals and Tommy's awesome music, obviously. Anyway, to appease Jova's request, allow me to read the story of this game. Breaking news, guys! Spot and his friends, Spot, and Spot are in trouble, and they need help, fast. Now the old news. For years, Wild Wicked Willy Will has been trying to capture a real-life Spot to prove to the world that they really do exist. Up to date, they have never been spotted. And now the hot news! Now, Will may be about to get his wish. And now the bad news. Will, in a moment of true wickedness, put cunning Spot trap cages in all of the fun places where other Spot fiend friends will be hanging out. Now the really bad news. The traps have worked all too well. There is now a Spot caught in every cage. And now the truly awful news. Will be back at any minute to take the Spot into captivity forever. Will be back, But now the good news. You're here to save the day. You can help Spot, who has got Spot cool shots to spot the cages, free his fellow Spot friends, stop Will, and be a totally cool Spot.
Oh.
I'm wishing that this game was made in the 90s, by the way.
And possibly on drugs.
Spot to the rescue. Due to the incredibly good planning, okay, you were actually out surfing at the time. You are the only Spot that is still free to have a good time. All the other Spot characters have been trapped in one of Wicked Will's cages. So there you were, being totally cool as usual, when a sign caught your eye. On it was pinned a hurriedly scribbled message. Hero wanted. You, as cool Spot, must rescue your friends before it's too late. You'll need to use your cool wits and your cool shot of bubbles in a race against time. Good thing Will is a little slow, to free the other Spot characters for the traps. Are you up for it? Will you be cool enough before Will gets his wicked hands on them?
I don't know. It depends on if I can get down with my bad self enough.
Yes. So yeah, it's abundantly obvious, everybody, this is made by the same team who went on to make Earthworm Jim.
Basically, David Perry and his team, while creative, apparently there's word that they weren't all too keen about doing what was essentially product placement. So, of course, they went as zany as possible as they could with it. So, after they finally got to make their own original title, they went all out rebellious with it. Which, as you know, is the ever so famous Earthworm Jim, which we did a commentary of not too long ago.
And now a bonus level.
Now, your experience with this game may have varied. If you played the Genesis version, you probably had a good enough time with this.
You up for a rave?
Oh boy.
Okay.
Inside, what else? A bottle of
7-Up. Yes, but the bonus levels are a 7-Up bottle where you just try to jump through the bubbles. Fucking bubbles. And, basically just get to the top and find the letter. Basically, you're supposed to spell the word Uncola. For those who don't know, Uncola was kind of
the original title of the 7-Up, I think.
Yeah, it was basically meant to, because remember, 7-Up was competing with Coca-Cola, so obviously they were the Uncola. Huh?
Yeah, like uncool.
Yeah, kinda.
So that's basically it. This is a really fun bonus level because it basically requires a lot of precision jumping from you so you don't fall into the floor. And of course, Tommy's rave music is awesome. So there's that. Basically, you can get the letter, and after that, you're done. However, the bonus level keeps going.
Some bonus life, yeah. So
yeah, the bonus level only ends either when the time is up or when you kill at 100% cool points. Also, I got 7-Up, guys. Do you have 7-Up too?
I actually tried it once. It's just not for me.
I have Fanta, so there.
I don't do sodas, really.
I don't drink a lot of lemonade, which is what 7-Up is.
Cool!
Well, no, sure. Wait, lemonade is not soda.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
So
for one thing, it doesn't...
Remember, lemonade in the UK is different to lemonade in the US.
Oh, if you have a high percentage, yeah, you get another.
So what is lemonade for the UK?
And now
It tastes a little different.
Yes, level 2 is peer pressure. Huh?
Peer pressure.
So let me get this straight. The UK has a drink they call lemonade, but it's not actually what lemonade is to us in the US.
Java brought up a good point, though, about the game. Yes, much like the Earthworm Jim games, there's a thing about the two versions of this game. The Mega Drive version was the one that was the Mega Drive was the lead platform for development, and the Super Nintendo version is a port, and the Super Nintendo version does have issues. First of all, it's way harder. But let me first mention the most obvious thing. The screen, much like a lot of Mega Drive to Super Nintendo ports, it's cropped. The Super Nintendo version, I mean. And as me and Jove have said various times, that can be really a big problem when it comes to playing these old games.
But the absolute worst thing it does is that it commits the cardinal sin that I figured out why I don't like old Mega Man games. Respawning enemies.
Yes,
basically,
very good.
Enemies in this game can be a bit frustrating at times, but once you deal with them, they're done. In this version, in the SNES version, as soon as you go off screen from where they'd be, as soon as you go back, they'll show up. And you're going to have to backtrack a lot because this game's actually a collectathon.
Yeah, basically, guys, it also in terms of the process, because remember, you're looking for cool spots. So obviously it's good to know where you've been and where you haven't been. So the enemies usually serve as a good way to do that. If there are no enemies around, then you probably already were here, right? However, in the Super Nintendo version, the enemies respawn, as Jova just said. And for example, if you die, all the enemies, not only that, Jova, but when you die, not only will the enemies will respawn entirely. So basically, you have to restart again. You return your cool points, don't get me wrong. However, it's going to become really hard to continue searching because now you probably don't even remember where you've been, you know. However, in this version, the enemies will not respawn even if you die. If you die, not only do you retain your cool points, but the enemies that you killed will remain dead. So so even if you do go back to the beginning of the level because you haven't found a checkpoint, it's not going to be that bad because all the enemies are dead. So it should be a fine enough breeze to get back to where you were. It's not that bad.
It's just another chapter in the book of why are these two platforms so different?
Yeah, the 90s were an interesting time for multi-platform games because nowadays multi-platform games are just the same in every platform for the most part. But back in the day, for some reason, there were always incredibly different versions between the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo.
Think of it kind of like what FIFA did. I mean, think of it like what EA did with FIFA 19 on the Switch. Yeah, that's kind of not acceptable in this time and age, but the point being is like, well, they were insanely different.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes having content that one other wouldn't have, and not in the sense of exclusive content, no, I mean in the sense where the game was completely different. It's almost like if we had, something like Starlink for the Nintendo Switch, except the reasoning behind that is actually good because, Star Fox and, well, yeah, good luck trying to see anything Nintendo has on a different platform without doing it illegally by emulating.
Mm-hmm. Basically, this is a pier, as you can see, so basically try to find your cool points. All the enemies are typical enemies you'll find in a pier, I guess. They're like
so
crabs.
I take that your life is represented by the cool spot face, so how does that indicate, like, how much hit points do you have?
Basically, Teo, the more you get hurt, the more damaged. The more damage. If you get hurt, that face starts falling. Imagine that. Think of it as a sticker. Imagine that it's a sticker on the wall, and the more you get hurt, the less it sticks, and eventually the sticker will fall off. Basically, that's basically it's a visual representation.
Does the facial expression change?
A bit, yeah. However, I'm using invincibility, so you won't see that. Sorry. There you go. It's interesting because, Jova, another thing that they did change in the Super Nintendo version was the HUD, because the HUD is, as you can see, it's a typical HUD that's serviceable, but in the Super Nintendo version it took full advantage, I guess this time we wanted to take full advantage of the more, of the bigger color palette that the Super Nintendo had to make it a bit more colorful, because the HUD in the Super Nintendo version is quite more colorful.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, everybody, I'm trying to show off all of the 7 bonus levels that the game has. However, if you don't particularly care much for explory platformers, don't worry. You can just collect 40%, and 40% is incredibly easy to collect, and go straight to the goal if you don't care about bonus levels. However, I want to show off the bonus levels because they actually do change in terms of layout. Not to mention, there's a really cool thing that happens if you lose the bonus stage that I want to show as well.
Okay.
So there you go. This game actually did get a sequel, which we'll get to after this. But I'm actually quite a big fan of the sequel in particular because the sequel is a quite more memorable game. Not that this one isn't. It's just that the sequel, it does have the problem of being an isometric perspective Mega Drive game. However, it does it fine enough, and the level themes that you get in that game are pretty cool as well. So there you go.
Also, gotta love how the yes, Jova.
Oh, I was just commenting on what was going on.
No, I gotta love how the enemies are looking a more photorealistic, while Cool Spotting Stealth is definitely more cartoony.
That's because he's a cartoony mascot in a realistic world. Kind of think of it like the M&M commercials, where the M&M cartoon characters are amidst real humans. That's the vibe that they're going for, I'm guessing.
Those commercials are weird.
Yes, they are.
In general, Shirai, a lot of food-related products are weird. Like Slim Jim commercials have always been weird, for example.
Also, Slim Jims.
Also, for you and Waves, since you're from the UK, the Pepperami commercials also have been weird with stop motion.
Alright, got 70%, so we're up for the bonus level. Hey, Mr. Fish.
That fish is more cartoony, so yeah. There you go.
That's like Jova said. We're just going full zany, and the first rule is there are no rules.
I really get the attitude that later will be in the other games that this team will make, not just the From Gym games, but also the licensed Disney games, or even a bit of in the Terminator game they made. Yeah,
because that's actually an interesting thing. The Aladdin game that they made right after this uses the exact same engine that this game has. In fact, you might remember how earlier when I started the game and it showed that little screen telling me what things do, which thing is which. Remember, the Aladdin game also has that. So basically, they basically took the structure of this game and applied it to the Aladdin game as well. So, except of course for the Aladdin, they made the levels more linear. But yeah, there you go.
That's also because of the time we discussed.
Not just
It
that.
just would have been nice if there was some kind of landmark in these stages to figure out where we were.
Oh, don't worry,
Yeah,
Shiroi. It's actually not that hard because not only do you have checkpoints, I don't know if you noticed, but there's little spot hands that always tell you where to go. So it may look like it, but it's actually pretty easy to know where you are and where you've been. It's just a matter of
also
as long
considering that we're throwing spots to collect everywhere. Understanding at which percentage you are probably means the point where you are. Like if you have a high percentage, it means you're almost at the end of a level.
Mm-hmm. It's actually not that hard in terms of landmarks, Shirai, because again, it's just look for spots and enemies. If there's no spots or enemies, you've been there.
To be fair, if you have eye issues, though, it may be a bit of a strain, admittedly.
Well, yeah, but that's like with everything. So.
Okay, I think I can see where Shura is coming from. I mean, now granted, if you're like geared for this sort of stuff, yeah, you'll definitely memorize stuff. However, if you do lose track of where you're getting it, while it's thankfully not as hard in the Genesis version, you may get a bit lost. And if you are playing the SNES version,
Lord help you.
You've been warned.
Lord help you, yes, because the SNES version can be quite frustrating. Yeah.
Let me put it like this: the differences between the SNES version and the Genesis version are enough to determine whether or not somebody may love this game or hate this game.
Yeah. Again, because this game is actually designed with the exploration in mind, and to try to make it fairly comfortable for the player, while at the same time retaining the challenge element. However, this Super Nintendo version, they just, again, like me and Jova said, the whole respawning enemies, it may not seem like a game destroying issue in by itself, but trust me, if you play it, you'll see exactly what we mean, because
it depends on what kind of game. Like, okay, if it's a game where you need to like kill enemies to refuel your health, then by all means respawn the enemies. However, in quite a few areas, respawning enemies can just feel annoying and just there for the sake of trying to make things quote-unquote more difficult.
Alright, now this time, instead of getting 100%, I'm going to let myself lose my time so you guys can see the fun animation. Hey look, I got 7 up. Alright, time up.
Huh.
On. There you go.
I wonder what the jingle with the synthesized organ meant.
They're doing the
Super Bowl.
They're doing
And now, third level. Off the wall.
Tio,
Yes,
I'm
Pedro,
surprised you didn't. I'm surprised you didn't notice the chord there. It sounds like Hallelujah, the chorus.
Yeah.
A bit, yeah, I guess.
That's a common thing. Tommy loves to insert these little public domain stuff, or even famous song stuff, as little musical Easter eggs for those who pay attention.
Final boss of Earthworm Jim 2 and Evil the Cat's Lair from Earthworm Jim 1 come to mind.
Not just that. Oh, since we speak of Earthworm Jim, Jova, according to the sound test of the game, guess what's the name of this tune? Oh wait, wait, never mind. This is still. Never mind. This is wall tune. We're not at. I'll have to show you in the next part.
Anyway, here we're inside the woodworks of someone's house, complete with the nails and everything.
You disturbed the mouse sleep. How rude.
Yes,
well, if Mouse has taught us anything, if you disturb a mouse sleeping, you're in trouble.
Yes, be careful of be careful of mouse traps as well. Again, this was the game. This is actually one of the, in togetherness with RoboCop versus the Terminator for the Mega Drive, and like Teo said, the Terminator Sega CD game, and now with this one. This was by the time that David Perry and his team, specifically Virgin, were starting to get a reputation as a very reliable developer for licensed games, which is why Disney, when they were desperately looking for a developer to make the Aladdin game in 6 months, they went with them. So. And there you go.
Jeez, what is up with these mice?
Cheese for everyone.
That's another trademark, Teo, of a David Perry game. It looks charming, but the difficulty can be quite a bitch.
Yeah, I also noticed that in the Airport Gym games.
Well, the first one, yes, but the second one was considerably easier. Considerably easier than most of David's games, yeah.
And puppy love notwithstanding, you need to be good with the position and everything.
True. Oh, trust me, Teo. You saw Puppy Love in easy mode. If you played Puppy Love in hard mode, you'd go nuts. you had to stay there and hear the Italian medley over and over and over and over.
And feel bad for all those poor pups.
That's what the mute button is for.
Remember, Shira, like I've joked countless times with Teo. That theme is basically PTSD for gym fans. I tried to save them, Peter. I really did.
Jeez, and
you just had way too many kids, dude. We had to do something.
Jeez, and I thought ditching Yoshi in Super Mario World was traumatic.
Maybe if we hadn't done that to him, he wouldn't have committed the tax fraud.
I wonder.
Terrible parents.
But wait, hold on. Isn't Yoshi supposed to be more like Mario's father figure, considering Yoshi's Island?
I guess.
Wow,
look at that example, Yoshi.
Not just that, Mario and Luigi Parties in Time kind of tells us how Yoshis are in a very disturbing way. So even that's a bit weird.
There's also
Yoshi is Mario's father, and Luigi is Yoshi's mother.
Yes, Pedro?
True.
This game also serves as... sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I get it. So the Yoshi that fathered Mario went for one of those time-traveling warp pipes.
This game
I'm referring to the episode from the TV show.
I know.
Someone lost their keys there.
Yes.
I know, that's exactly it, you're right. The Yoshi that Luigi imprinted on later went for a warp pipe, and that's how he came to Father Mario.
There you go, Shiro. Notice the flag, the checkpoint. Aside from the flags, every time you go somewhere, you'll notice these little hands telling you where to go. So the game does point... There you go, see? That hand there. So the game does point you in a general term to where the cage is. It's just a matter of... Again, as long as you have a good enough sense of direction, you should be fine. There you go, see? Another one. Where was it? This game also shows us a great showcase of David and his team's commitment to try to make the best with what they had, because, let's face it, the Cool Spot character, for those who haven't seen the original commercials back in the day, they're not that great. They're just the typical, oh, I'm cool and shit, and it's literally just that, 7-Up, drink it if you want to become cool, or the typical 90s thing,
There's a reason when it comes... There's a reason that when it comes to a lot of food and product mascots, okay, you will hear about Chester Cheetah. You'll hear about the King from Burger King. You'll even hear sometimes about, the bee from Honey Nut Cheerios. But, God help you, I don't think anyone really talks about Cool Spot the character.
Yeah, this was one, but this was thing, Joe, is that this game actually did a good job in making the character popular among Mega Drive fans specifically, because this game was actually really successful commercially in Mega Drive, so much that it got a sequel, like I said.
What a strange concept. If you make your game good enough, people will actually talk about the product it's advertising.
Well, I don't know, Jim. I mean, Nintendo seems to remember that lesson. Yay.
There you go.
If there's one good service Sega did do, it was pretty much showing up EA in that commercial for Sonic Mania Plus. Sega is what EA ain't.
It also, it's not just that too. It's also one of the more the reason this one tends to be mostly forgotten. This in the sequel nowadays is because, unlike say Earthworm Jim, this one never got a re-release. Virtual Console, nothing. Like, ever since the Mega Drive, this game has never been re-released in any way, shape, or form.
Guessing because of licenses.
Yeah.
I mean, and
we know that 7-Up owns the character. We don't know who owns the game. I mean, Virgin doesn't exist anymore, so I don't know.
Someone has to have it.
I'll say this. While this game is definitely very visually pleasing, in terms of having overall structure and lore, not much. And I'm not saying
I like the fact that the levels are more vertical, just horizontal. So you're moving all ups and downs and everything. But they can become indeed quite a bit maze-y.
Yeah, sometimes a bit too much for its own good. This is definitely a good game. I'll admit one that I did not have good first impressions with because as a kid I played the SNES version, and I was more of a PlayStation kid anyway at the time, so I wasn't exactly that tight in with the SNES. But yeah, this game, it's good, but it definitely has a few issues that make it a bit banal. Like Tio mentioned, the maze-like structure can get a bit old at times, eventually, it's inevitable. And okay, yeah, it's cool and wacky, but outside of that, it doesn't really do much stuff to shake stuff up. Like, essentially the goal is really just the same. Find the cool spots. You don't even really fight this wicked Willy what's-his-name guy because, well, that's the thing. I only knew about this because I read the manual.
Check out the enclosed instruction book.
And okay, yes. Sometimes you have to get destroyed from reading the manual, but at least most times the villain actually, shows up. But no, this guy never shows up in this game. If you don't read the manual, essentially what you have is just this weird character, because lol random, who's getting his friends out of a cage who, for all you know, were dumb enough to get in themselves. He doesn't really interact with much people outside of the norm, he just interacts with animals, so we don't see people's reactions to this. I'm not saying that makes it a bad game, but considering how this is a licensed mascot
it's an acquired
game,
taste.
Let me put it like this. Licensed mascot games often came with at least a silly enough premise, that you could actually get even just from playing the game. Like Earthworm Jim, reading the manual gives you the best experience overall, but you can still have a fun enough experience just playing the game because you still interact with the characters, see some weird story bits and whatnot. That kind of goes with stuff like even the infamous Chester Cheetah Too Cool to Fool game. Whereas with this one, again, yeah, it's cool to look at, and I guess you could say fun to play, but past that, it may get a bit old for you past 30 minutes. And again, I'm not saying this like it's a bad game, I'm just saying it's sadly something that's part of the course of games like this, unless they add that extra little stuff to spice them up.
It also doesn't help that they try to justify it with the story, but it also doesn't help that in the second half of the game, they start reusing level tropes. They change the layout, but they start. My guess is the game probably was being rushed, and in order to have enough content, they had to reuse level tropes. I'm guessing. That's one of the main reasons why I actually prefer the sequel over this one, despite being an isometric game. I think it's a more memorable game overall, and it's much easier and much more easy to grasp for people who might not like explory platformers. Anyway, see you for the next part, everybody.
See
ya.
See ya.